So my advice to those customers is, if you're going to go down the path, you got to get in the pool. Like, you probably already dipped your toe in the water, so you know the value of what you're trying to derive. Take a step back, make sure you have an excellent entry, but you got to go all in.
Hello, everyone. This is Jesse Zadanek, your host of Dynaway Dialogues. I'm excited today to have Andy Pruett from CoGo.Global with us. Andy, thanks for coming on. Welcome.
Jesse, thank you for having us. CoGo is very, very happy to be here.
Yeah. So let's get right into it. Tell us a little bit about your journey with CoGo, finally being the culmination of all your work in this industry.
Yeah, I like to tell people a little bit about my background. I'm originally from Alaska. So I worked in oil and gas for over a decade before I was hired by a mining company and spent about a decade there. They moved me to Vancouver, BC, where CoGo is headquartered. So we're a proud Canadian company, but is able to service a global market. And our journey to get here is really part and parcel of my background. I grew up in asset-intensive industries, grew up on the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. Through university, out of university, I always worked within industry. So CoGo was really created to help some of the challenges that we saw coming out of asset-intensive industries, especially as our workforce continue to age and assets continue to age. We saw the opportunity to be able to create solution sets to really help people manage their assets in a better way. So my journey to actually starting CoGo goes back to that beginning.
Right.
And we've been a Dynaway partner now for about 10 years, but in the latest incarnation, 3 years. So we just celebrated our third anniversary, August 1st of this year.
Gotcha. Well, tell us a little bit about how, I know you're kind of a speaker and knowledge leader in the industry. I've been reading your blogs. Tell us a little bit about how that came about, how you've become such a knowledge leader in the industry.
Really, CoGo is an asset resilience company. Is the reason why I think we became a knowledge leader in the industry is simply because we have identified that there's so much help that's needed regarding complex asset management. And I'll give you a couple of reasons why. 57% of industry globally don't have dedicated asset risk managers. They don't have people that have the skill sets to be able to understand the consequences of asset failure and how to recover from them. So really our niche is focused on helping those customers that want to keep their assets running to the best of their capability to achieve the economic result that they're there for.
Yeah.
So we felt like there's an opportunity again as the workforce ages to capture that knowledge, integrate it into a solution that helps to capture asset condition state and immediately dispatch technicians, for example. So really part and parcel of what we do is helping customers to build asset resilience.
Tell us a little bit about how you got hooked up with Dynaway. I mean, I know the story, but our listeners want to hear as well. What drove you to search us out? How do we connect? And how is that helping customers?
So I'll tell you, it's a long story. I'll try to give you the cliff notes on it. But essentially, I came out of industry. I came out of mining and saw the opportunity to really specialize in asset management for the Microsoft Dynamics ecosystem. And I really felt a really strong passion that Microsoft was going to develop more and more capabilities to help customers in asset-intensive industries better manage their assets. So going back 10 years ago, I actually met Morten Bachmoller, who's no longer with us at Dynaway. kind of introduced me to the product from the ground up, and then met you shortly
Hmm.
thereafter.
Right.
And we did a very large implementation, call it a digital transformation initiative, which is a bit of a bad word now.
Right.
Um, but for a very, very large multinational forest products company.
Yeah.
And I just loved the product. What I didn't like about it was how long the projects took. So when Dynaway actually took a step back after their sale of that product directly to Microsoft and said, we're going to do it for Business Central, we thought, wow, this is an opportunity to really have a higher velocity, a higher volume, a higher impact of change for customers in the asset intensive industry, simply because Business Central, ubiquitous, full cloud platform. So our ability to be able to deploy and support customers any place in the world became very, very strong. And our value proposition around knowing assets, living in asset intensive industries became even stronger. So our partnership with Dynaway goes back 10 years. We love the product. We love the product for the F&O or AX that got sold to Microsoft. And we've just continued on that journey. And we feel that there's value in continuing to develop a really robust EAM ecosystem. So how do we extend the functionality of EAM to maybe be more inclusive of over some edge things that really need to be included in the conversation around how to effectively manage your assets?
Yeah, and I'm very excited about actually attending your session at Connect this year because I know that you've kind of taken this great partnership and great collaboration that we have with BC customers, and you've actually built on top of it with the step to IoT sensors and having that built in. Tell us a little bit about that because it's I've worked on the F&O side and a little bit on the BC side for a long time. This is always a kind of a missing element to companies that I've worked with, where they want to take that step, but they're never able to really do it, um, in a costly or a timely manner. And so it's been a hole in a lot of the customers that I work with, and I'm excited that maybe you're bringing something new to the table.
We think we are bringing something very new to the table. And I'll give you a little bit of a market overview. There are 3,300 IIoT companies globally. So
Hmm.
that's industrial Internet of Things. So think
Yes.
about connected devices
Hmm.
that are everything from in mining, high wall monitoring solutions to road management solutions to pressure solutions. So lots and lots of sensory capabilities. One of our kind of core foundational themes is that integration trumps functionality.
Mm.
So we want to make things seamless to our customers. So we need a frictionless end-to-end process. And if you think about the size of the mid-market segment, manufacturers, oil and gas, heavy industry, forest products, food products. There's so many people out there that are trying to create a global competitive advantage
Hmm.
through the product that they make. So if we can move the bar for them in terms of allowing them to drive more uptime and then reducing their risk, that's a big, big win for us as a company and for us as a larger ecosystem because we're going to help them be more globally competitive.
Hmm.
So, what we saw happening in the digital transformation space was lots of products searching for a problem to solve. And the larger issue was the integration. Most of the mid market companies that we're dealing with don't have a very large technology capability. And when they have that technology capability, they're usually disconnected from the value proposition that the technology can provide. So what we did is took a step back and said, how can we look at this holistically from a value chain standpoint and make sure that we're addressing the things that provide the most value in the most seamless and frictionless way possible? And I'll say that a little bit differently. If we can give you 80% of the functionality of an expert tool, but we can fully integrate it into your work process,
Yeah.
that is value all day to our customers. So
Mm.
the fact that we're able to leverage customers that have already invested, one, in an ERP, which is a
Hmm.
large expense,
Right.
two, they've identified the need for asset management, so they're already consuming Dynaway, and we can take the guesswork out of connecting their assets from the shop floor directly to the work management system.
Mhm.
That holistically is again instant value for our customers. And
Mm.
we can get into driving uptime statistics if we want to, but this is simply, look, we can give you asset condition states. We can automatically generate either a request or directly a work order, and we can get your technicians on tool time as fast as we possibly can. And if you think about the big challenges for either extractive industries or heavy industries, the three top costs, what are they? What do they end up being? Labor is number one. We can't find enough people to do the jobs that we have to get done.
Right.
Energy, right? So energy is very, very expensive. And three, maintenance.
Mm.
And if I stick just on maintenance for 1 second, 65% of heavy industry globally is dealing with mechanical breakdowns because of aged and deteriorated infrastructure, just old. So
Yeah.
there's an opportunity for us to be able to provide value by, again, attaching our asset condition monitoring system, taking the guesswork out of what an IIoT project could potentially be, and immediately providing value by just giving you anomalies in condition state so that you can dispatch a technician to be able to address those issues before they become unmanageable in terms of a
Mm.
larger failure.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I love customer stories, Andy. Can you give us any examples or people you've worked with where you've seen this actually make an impact on their company?
I'll give you one right off the top of my head, and that's inspections. So
Okay.
we've got a client that has a very, very large facility. It happens to be a big refinery,
Hmm.
and they've got over 600 sectional valves, and those valves have to be inspected on a weekly basis. A
Hmm.
lot of those valves are actually in underground boxes, so they're just slightly submerged. So if you think about what do I have to do as an asset technician to even enter that space? I have to get suited up. I have to have all my PPE. That door has to be open. It has to be evacuated, so they have to actually blow air into it. You have to
Right.
have a safety person come and do a meter read to figure out if
Okay.
there's any gases that are present, right?
Uh-huh.
And then
Yeah.
you have to have two people. One's the safety watch, and then the technician that goes in the space to do one visual inspection, right, on one sectional valve. So if you can imagine, times that by 600, and then if it's a risk-based asset, times that by weekly.
Mm.
So massive amount of labor to be able
Yes.
to conduct your asset inspection, to be able to meet your compliance, because you're supposed to do that according to the terms and conditions of your insurance policy. And then you're also taking people out of harm's way. They don't have to go underground anymore. So
Mm.
if you deploy our device, for example, instead of doing a weekly inspection, you're looking at it 24/7, 365. So
Mm.
that's a regular physical disturbance. That could be temperature variations. That could even be vibration. So we
Hmm.
have a full-time set of eyes on that asset. So if you look at that, you can reduce the amount of inspection time by up to 90%.
Mm.
So if you can actually provide that full-time visibility to that asset, you don't have to send a person every week to go do a physical inspection. So that is a value proposition from a customer that pays you dollars every single day.
Mm.
I'll go one step further. If you look at how difficult this customer happens to be in the mining space, they need to focus on getting tons out of the ground, right? So that's their core purpose.
Right.
And unit cost is such a big driver for them.
Hmm.
Unit cost is how much money does it take? How much money do I spend labor, energy, maintenance, all the way under to produce one unit of value? And for mining, it's a pretty interesting proposition. I carry around a 1 ounce silver coin with me. This 1 ounce silver coin is, as of this morning, it's about 35, a little over $35 US, so $47 Canadian. Jesse, how much ore do you think you have to move to actually produce 1 ounce of silver?
Wow. I have no idea, Andy.
It's 10 to 20 tons of
Wow.
material. So if you
Wow.
think about a medium-sized dump truck of
Uh-huh.
earth that has to be moved to produce 1 ounce of silver.
Okay.
Anything that you can do to help those operators reduce cost is
Yeah.
value. So our device is not searching for a problem. Our device is directly solving a problem, which is making
Mm,
sure you're utilizing your technical workforce, electricians, instrumentation, mechanical, those technicians in the field addressing only the problems that make sure that your plant stays up, to make sure that you've reduced your risk so that you can focus on producing the ounces that you need
mm,
to produce.
gotcha.
Hopefully that resonates.
Yeah, that's an incredible example. So I could certainly see how that impacts an organization on a massive scale. Let me ask you this though: what do you see out there in these kinds of heavy, uh, asset-intensive industries? We've been hearing IIoT and IoT for so many years. Are companies out there far ahead in this space, or is this a technology that's 10% utilized? And is there a lot of opportunity out there for this?
I will say over the last 10 years, there's definitely been a hype cycle that
Yes.
is around IIoT. And so we've seen over the last 10 years kind of this peak of the hype around everything's going to be connected and there's going to be a trillion devices in the market and it's going to happen
Yeah.
by 2026 to this peak of despair because the value was not connected to the
Mm-hmm.
actual business value proposition. So I'll say that a little bit differently. The marketing hype did not understand the problem that was actually trying to be solved.
Mm-hmm.
So we see kind of a road that's been littered with projects that never met their value proposition. So
Gotcha.
that makes customers fearful,
Mm-hmm.
right? They don't want to invest in things that aren't going to pay off. And especially in a time where capital has gotten more and more expensive,
Yeah.
right? It's not
Yeah.
free money. So we
Yeah.
have to be careful where we spend our dollars. Costs have tripled, quadrupled in certain areas. Labor costs, critical spare costs, all of those things have gone massively up. So the value proposition for what we do is still there. But again, we've got 3,300 IIoT devices that are all kind of searching for that problem to solve. And
Yeah.
go back to our tactic. Integration trumps functionality. If I can get you to value within an hour or two by looking at your assets, having it integrated into your work management system within that Microsoft ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
that is value to our customers every step of the way. If I
Right.
have to go to a big industrial vendor, because everybody does it, Eaton, ABB, Schneider, everybody's got their own product and solution set. They're
Yeah.
very advanced. It's great product. I really do like it. But sometimes we overthink what's needed for the operator, right?
Yeah.
We make it too complicated.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think plays into it is that everything has a long tail on it. And
Mm.
so just like we have the consumer version, we have these subscriptions and then costs get out of control and we try to figure out where the unsubscribe button is. On the
Yeah.
industrial side, that's hard too, especially if you've never met your value prop. So for
Mm.
us, it's creating a solution that is cost effective, rapidly deployable, that
Mm-hmm.
increases asset resilience, that reduces your risk, and increases the capability to be able to leverage your workforce.
Mm.
So I think all those things play into how we're slightly different. And I think we're coming out of the pit of despair on
Okay.
IIoT.
Right.
And so we have more solutions focused applications out there rather than a disconnected kind of one
Mm-hmm.
off type solution. And I'll maybe expand on that a little bit. There's no one size fits all. So there's great vibration, acoustic, temperature, motion based, very, very advanced sensors that are out there. Don't get me wrong. I love the technology. I'm a technologist at heart. But for an
Yeah.
operator, they don't really care. How is
Yeah.
this providing value to me? Because I don't have a data scientist on staff to interpret that data.
Yeah.
So the fact that we can measure and monitor that on behalf of our customers, The fact that we can take that data, we can run it through a machine learning algorithm, we can provide
Hmm.
them a little bit proactive information is again highly valuable for our customers not to have to think about even the configuration of the
Mm,
device. We've made it
yeah,
that easy.
right.
Part of CoGo is our name Connect and Go. It's meant to
Okay.
be incredibly simple for customers to understand.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So, kind of what would be your advice to a company who, like you said, maybe they're a little gun shy. They did a project 5 years ago and it didn't turn out to be very productive, and they want to dip their toe back in to somehow getting connected to their equipment. How do you go about, I guess, getting them started?
Start small,
Yeah.
understand your value. What are you
Hmm.
trying to derive from it? And then go all in. And I mean that seriously. We had way too many companies that ran pilot projects that never returned value. And
Yeah.
so the partner and the company never got to the point where they were really returning the value that they need. So I would say you can't go half-heartedly into it. Almost
Hmm.
every one of our customers has had IIoT projects in the past. The
Uh-huh.
fact that we can do what we say we do, we can connect, we can connect your work management system, and it takes an hour, and you're up and collecting data. Again, it's proof is in the pudding, proof is in the execution,
Hmm.
and we don't really do pilots. We have customers that are very sophisticated for maintenance and reliability. Either we
Hmm.
add value or we don't. So my advice to those customers is if you're going to go down the path, you got to get in the pool. Like you
Yeah.
probably already dipped your toe in the water, so you know the value of what you're trying to derive. Take a
Hmm.
step back, make sure you
Hmm.
have an excellent entry, but you got to go all in. So if
Mm.
you're always going to just dip your toe in the water, you're never going to get the value out of it. Because a big thing too is the sooner you start collecting data, the bigger your data set grows, the
Yeah.
more information you can derive from it. And that has to happen in a continual process. It's
Mm.
not, I'm going to get a 30-day sample set of data that's going to solve all my problems, or
Yeah.
even a 6-month sample set of data, or even a
Yeah.
3-year sample set of data. And I'll give you a good reason why. Likely the pump that you're monitoring, the drive that you're monitoring, the electrical switchgear that you're monitoring is going to change in that 6 years. So maybe it's even going to change to a new model. Maybe it'll have a
Hmm.
new voltage. Maybe it'll have a
Hmm.
new drive in it. So the
Hmm.
data set that you just collected for 6 years probably is not going to be a whole lot valuable, right? So you have to get into the water and really start leveraging the data. That's the only way to really get gold out of it. I
Mm.
had a very good conversation with another industry peer who was saying he used a Jim Basile quote, who's the founder of RIM, and he said, "Data is not the new gold; it's the new plutonium, because if you don't know how to use it, it's going to spread radioaction all over the place." So
Nice.
we really feel like we've contained a solution that allows you to leverage that data, allows you to leverage it very good, allows you to build asset resilience, reduce asset risk, and again, get people working on the things that they need to work on that are
Mm.
important.
Yeah. Wow. That's fantastic. Yeah. So, do you see this kind of connected out of the box um, being kind of the next step? If you could look in your crystal ball, what do you see as the 5 to 10 year progress of IIoT?
That's a great question, Jesse. I think if we look at it as building blocks,
Hmm.
and maybe we have Lego. Lego is like the number one building block, and I love saying that because of the connection in
Right.
Denmark, and
Yeah.
it's a great product. So I feel that we have the right Lego building blocks that
Hmm.
are part of the right platform. And let me explain. We're a Microsoft shop. You're a Microsoft shop. We surface Microsoft customers. We live in a very rich habitat, lots of capabilities, and we feel like that wall is going to keep on getting bigger and bigger. We're going to keep on growing that ecosystem and get more and more value. Not that there's not a place for expert tools, but we do believe that integration trumps functionality. And especially as compute cost grows, I'll be very specific about this. Generative AI is
Hmm.
causing a sea change in the cost of cloud compute. So you're going to have to be very specific on where you apply your dollars to achieve result by using AI. So we're focusing specifically on asset risk, asset efficiency, asset resilience. That's our
Right.
deep data set. In the very, very near future, I think the cost of compute is going to continue to go up. So we have to utilize our spend correctly. We feel
Mm.
like the Microsoft ecosystem is the best value for the dollars that we're going to invest because of that rich ecosystem, because that integration trumps the functionality. We feel like there's a long way to go. So we feel like there's going to be even more building blocks that come into the environment. The second reason for that is in that mid-market segment, especially around Dynamics Business Central, you have pre-tested software versus post-tested software. So our IIoT connector, before we can publish it to AppSource, has to go through thousands of tests.
Right.
We have to prove that it can work. It's not post-tested where we create a custom development, we go through UAT testing, we put it out to the customer, and notice a whole bunch of things are broken. So I
Right.
think the change is we've got a standard platform with a very rich ecosystem with these great Lego building blocks that are taking the guesswork and the risk out of the investment.
Yeah. And I hear that from customers all the time. That's where the kind of the disconnect is there's so many devices, there's so much available to them, but getting that connection, driving that value is something that they are never really or rarely able to achieve, especially because this is often driven from operations departments, not from a IT department. So I see that quite frequently. Okay, well, last thing just to talk to you. I know that you're going to be speaking at Dynaway CONNECT. Is this a topic that you'll be spending time on? Give us a little sneak peek into your time you're going to spend with us in April.
We're going to talk about the connected asset management journey. So how can we drive resilience, efficiency, reduce risk? How can we do it for those customers that work in asset intensive industries, that have capital intensive machinery? How
Yeah,
can we integrate it into the software investment you already have? So I'm hoping that we're going to walk away from Connect with a firm understanding of what the connected device journey looks like in a very frictionless process, and how we can place an order that day. We'll have devices into your hand in 48 hours. We'll have you up and going, directly generating work orders within Dynaway within 20 minutes. So it's really exciting for us to be able to talk about that connected asset journey. Really excited to be able to talk about the value proposition to the customers of how they leverage our technology, how we can take the guesswork out of so many IoT devices, again, that are searching for a problem, and get you up and generating data to provide value immediately. So we're going to show that whole story arc, that whole value proposition arc. We're going to tell you about the human factors. We'll tell a few more customer stories about the impact
yeah,
of using our technology. And we're going to do a real-time demonstration. So we're going to bring our
wonderful.
hardware. We're going to show you the software. We're going to do it in real time and actually show you how it works.
Oh, fantastic! I love getting hands on. You're going to take some questions, real questions from customers, I'm sure.
We're looking
E-
forward to it.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, Andy. Well, I appreciate you joining today. That about wraps up the episode, and I just want to remind all of our listeners to like, subscribe, rate us on your platform of choice when you're listening to this podcast. Thank you for joining today. Thank you, Andy, for coming, and we're very excited about hearing more about it at Connect, and we hope everyone who's listening can be there to hear you. And thanks for joining today.
Thank you very much, Jesse.